Shalom, shalom. In today's video, we will be discussing the secret of Zer Anpin of Atziluth. So, to give us some basic understanding, I'm going to reveal to you a Partsu theme, this being the Partsu theme of Zer Anpin in the world of Atziluth, and then we were going to discuss this using a section from Apples from the Orchard called The Conveyance of Leah's Higher Wisdom. So with that being said, let us begin. So what you guys are looking at along the center line here is what's called a mezal. And the mezal descends from the upper worlds, that being of Zer Anpin, Atik, and Atika Kadisha. So in the Partsu theme of Zer Anpin, that mezal ends at the keter of his Partsuf, which is his head. But inside of that mezal are certain lights. The lights of Abba, which here are the Sephirot of Abba, and Ima, and here are the Sephirot of Ima. So with that being said, let us begin. So it's called The Conveyance of Leah's Higher Wisdom. So it says here, then the Netok Hod and Yesod of Abba are vested in the Netok Hod and Yesod of Ima. So, the Netok, Hod, and Yesod of Abba are vested in the Netok, Hod, and Yesod of Ima. After this, the Netok, Hod, Yesod of Ima, together with all aspects of divine light that we have said are vested in them, enter Zer Anpin. And so here is the Netzach, Hod, and Yesod of Abba, garbed in the Netzach, Hod, and Yesod of Ima, and they are combined in this mezal, which they say the aspects of the divine light, and they enter Zer Anpin. The reason being is that the Netzach, Hod, and Yesod of one world are the Hokmah, Bina, and Da'at of another world, in that the Netzach, Hod, and Yesod of Abba are the essence of the Hokmah, Bina, and Da'as of Zer Anpin. Likewise, the Netzach, Hod, and Yesod of Ima are the vessels of the Hokmah, Bina, and Da'as of Zer Anpin. These mentalities derived from Abba and Ima are called Selim of Abba and Selim of Ima, respectively, meaning an image. And so, the Netzach, Hod, and Yesod of each world is called Selim here in Abba and Ima. This is going to be very important. Now, the sub-Sephirot of Netzach, Hod, Yesod of Abba and Ima are masculine Sephirot. They are present in Zer Anpin for its own purposes in order to act as vessels for the three aspects of mentality, as we said. The three aspects of mentality are the Hokmah, the Bina, and the Da'at of Zer Anpin. And so it states here that Netzach, Hod, and Yesod of Abba and Netzach, Hod, and Yesod of Ima are masculine Sephirot. They are present in Zer Anpin for their own purposes, in order to act as vessels, as aforementioned, because Netzach is Hokmah, Hod is Bina, and Yesod of is Da'as. They act as vessels in essence. So let us continue. Present in Zer Anpin for its own purposes. Rather, they cause the Partsuf of Leah to egress from Zer Anpin, which is situated behind the Da'as of Zer Anpin. Since Malkuth is connected to Yesod, Leah is therefore connected to Zer Anpin at the point behind its Da'as. So, as it was stated, the Netzach, Hod, and Yesod of Abba are the essence of Hokmah, Bina, and Da'as of Zer Anpin. The Netzach, Hod, and Yesod of Ima are the vessel of Hokmah, Bina, and Da'as of Zer Anpin. Because Malkuth is connected to Yesod, and because Malkuth of Ima is connected to Da'as, because Yesod is Da'as, the vessel of Da'at of Zer Anpin, the Malkuth of Ima is connected there. And when that light is connected to Da'at, because Malkuth is connected to Yesod, and Yesod is the vessel of Da'at, it causes the light of Malkuth to exit out of Da'at. And that light, which is the Malkuth of Ima, that emanates outside of Da'at, which is behind the head of Zer Anpin, is the Partsufim of Leah. And so again, the Netzach, Hod, and Yesod of Abba are the essence of Chokmah, Bina, and Da'at of Zer Anpin. The Netzach, Hod, and Yesod of Ima are the vessels of Chokmah, Bina, and Da'at of Zer Anpin. Malkuth of Ima, which is connected to Yesod, emerges outside of Da'at, because Da'at is Yesod. And Malkuth becomes here, when it emerges out, the Partsufim of Leah. Furthermore, Malkuth of Abba becomes the Partsuf we have called the first Leah. So the first Leah is the Malkuth of Abba. Malkuth of Ima becomes the Partsuf of the second Leah. The Malkuth of Ima is the Partsuf of the second Leah. Then, the first Leah of Abba shines outward, breaking through to the position of the second Leah, and emerging there is a third Leah. Here's the third Leah. And then the Malkuth of Ima shines outward, breaking through the Da'at of Zer Anpin, emerging behind Zer Anpin's neck and becoming the fourth Leah. So Malkuth of Ima connects to the Da'at, because remember, Malkuth is connected to Yesod, and Yesod is the vessel of Da'at, and emerges here, the fourth Leah. So we have the first Leah, the Malkuth of Abba, the second Leah, the Malkuth of Ima, the third Leah, in the outer Partsufim, and the fourth Leah, which emerges outside of the back of Da'at of Zer Anpin because of Malkuth's connection to Yesod. So, this is known as the knot of the het teflon, as is known, which is in the letter of a dalet, which signifies four, which are these four Leahs. Now know that this fourth most external Leah is situated outside Zer Anpin. It couples only with Israel, which is Zer Anpin itself, or with Jacob. Meaning that this Leah, which emerges outside of the Da'at, it couples only with Zer Anpin as a totality, or the lower part of Zer Anpin, which would be the Partsuf of Yaakov. Now Yesod of Abba was embodied in Abel, the son of Adam. And so Yesod of Abba is Havel. He was therefore born together with two twin sisters who embodied the first and third Partsufim of Leah. The first Partsufim Leah is the Malkuth of Abba, and the third Partsufim of Leah is from the outer, the surrounding mentalities of Abba, which are on the outside. He was therefore born together with two twin sisters, Havel was, who embodied the first and third Partsufim of Leah. Yesod of Ima was embodied in Cain. And so Cain is the Yesod of Ima. And was only born with one twin sister who embodied the Malkuth of Ima, an example, the second Leah. And so there's only one connection to Cain. So there's only one Leah, because what would have been his second sister ends up emerging as the lower Leah behind Da'at. What would have been his second twin sister, an example, the radiance of the Malkuth of Ima that shines forth outside of Zer Anpin, becoming the fourth Leah, is not situated inside Zer Anpin, close to Yesod of Ima, but rather on the outside. It is therefore does not couple at all with Yesod of Ima, an example, Cain. Meaning that the fourth Leah emerges outside of the Da'at of Zer Anpin, because Yesod ends up becoming the vessel of the Da'at of Zer Anpin, and the Malkuth, which is connected there, ends up causing it an emergence, and that emergence is the fourth Leah. And because there's not a direct link between the two, as they're separated by degree, it says Cain came out with one, but Havel came out with two. So, to return to the subject of Selim, the Sadiq of Selim refers to Netzach, Hod, and Yisod of Ima or Abba. The Lamed of Selim refers to Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, and the Mem of Selim refers to Chokmah, Bina, and Da'at. And so they were called Selim earlier. And so Sadi refers to Netzach, Hod, and Yisod. Lamed refers to Chesed, Gevurah, and Tiferet. Mem refers to Chokmah, Bina, and Da'at of Abba and Ima. And this creates image. It says, corresponding to Selim, in which all three letters comprise all 10 Sephirot of Abba and Ima, and are alluded to in the name Ehyeh, spelt out with the letter Yud, which has the same numerical value as Selim. And so Selim has a numerical value of 160. Selim has a numerical value of 160, and Ehyeh, spelled with the Yud, has a value of 161. It's also known that the Mem of Selim signifies the higher surrounding mentalities, which are Chokmah, Bina, and Da'at. These being the mentalities that are not vested in garments or vessels of Ima. But the Lamed of Selim refers to secondary surrounding mentalities, referring to Chesed, Gevurah, and Tiferet. These being the mentalities that are vested in the vessels of Chesed, Gevurah, and Tiferet of Ima. This is going to be important because the lights of Chokmah, Bina, and Da'at enter into the mentalities, which are Chesed, Gevurah, and Tiferet. The light causes the mentalities to emerge on the outside. And that outside emergence is where we're going to get our fourth Leah from. Because everything is in a triad. Chokmah, Bina, Da'at, Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yisod. According to this, it follows that just as there are four aspects of Leah that issue from the inner mentalities alluded to by the Sadiq in Selim, so do four aspects of Leah issue from the secondary surrounding mentalities alluded to by the Lamed of Selim. And so the Sadiq of Selim refers to this triad, Netzach, Hod, and Yisod. And because there's Malkuths that are connected there, it comes to be that there's Leah that emerges, the qualities of Leah emerge from the Sadiq of Selim, like it states. And it also states, so do aspects emerge from the Lamed of Selim, which are called the outer aspects. Because when the lights of Chokmah, Bina, and Da'at enter the mentalities of Chesed, Gevurah, and Tiferet, it causes the inner mentalities to exit the outside, so that they become an outer mentality with an inner light. And that outer mentality ends up becoming the Leahs that are mentioned here. So that there's four Leahs. This is also, it's also known in the term the heavenly Jerusalem, meaning it is known that Rachel is termed Zion, which is the merciful aspect of Jerusalem, while Leah is termed Jerusalem, which is severe aspect of Jerusalem. The higher Leah produced by the surrounding mentalities are called heavenly Jerusalem. So the surrounding mentalities is the Leah produced by the Lamed, as it states here. So the Lamed, the Leah produced by the Lamed, which is connected to the Malkut of Saba, and is the Mokim, and connected to Yaakov's Keter, this Leah is called heavenly Jerusalem. This lower Leah that produced out of Da'at is called Jerusalem. And then Rachel, which comes out of Tiferet, is called Zion. So Zion is Rachel, which is from the grade of Tiferet and below, because she emerged from the light of Malkut connecting Tiferet. And likewise, the light of Ima's Malkut connecting to Da'at emerges Leah, called Jerusalem. But it states here, the higher Leah produced by the surrounding mentalities, which are produced by the lights of Chokmah, Bina, and Da'at entering Chesed, Gevurah, and Tiferet, causing those surrounding mentalities to emerge, which become this Leah, which is termed here heavenly Jerusalem. So it says, the Sadiq of Selim, which indicates the inner mentalities, possess aspects of Leah and Rachel. For the Netzach, Hod, and Yisod of Ima become invested in the Chokmah, Bina, and Da'at of Zer Anpin. So the Netzach, Hod, and Yisod of Abba and Ima become the Chokmah, Bina, and Da'at of Zer Anpin, like it was aforementioned explained. And it gives, thus Malkuth of Ima gives its radiance opposite the back of Da'at of Zer Anpin and becomes Leah, because Malkuth is connected to Yisod, and Yisod is Da'at. So because Yesod is connected to Da'at, it causes Leah to emerge there. So that's exactly what we see. So Netzach Hod and Yesod are Chokmah Bina and Da'at, and the Malkut that's connected there to Yesod, which is now Da'at, causes Leah to emerge. Yesod of Ima, which includes the lights of Netzach Hod and Yesod of Hod, of Ima, reaches until the chest, where it concludes, this being the parts of Ima of Rachel, which is at Da'at, and its light is revealed there and shine from there downward, meaning it reaches, the Malkut of Ima reaches Da'at, and then the opposite the chest of Zer Anpin and downward, there were revealed lights. Rachel issues from the back of Zer Anpin, mainly at Tiferet. So what it means is that the light of Ima, Bina, connects to Tiferet. And Da'at possesses all these inner mentalities. And because the Netzach Hod and Yesod of Ima are the Chokmah Bina Da'at of Zer Anpin, it causes the Malkut's connection to that Da'at to produce the Leah. But there's a connection between Bina and Tiferet. And because these mentalities are inside or enveloped or were absorbed and expressed here at Leah, the aspects of the left side, it leaves the aspects of the right side remaining, meaning the inner aspects of Abba that were inside of Ima. And because the aspects of Ima were produced in the aspects of Leah, it causes that the remaining aspects, which connected to Tiferet, emerge out, and they become the Parsuf of Rachel, for the aforementioned reasons. Now, Rachel is the 10th Sephira of the world of Atziluth in general, and is termed Malkuth of the world of Atziluth in general. Leah is only Malkuth of Ima of Atziluth. So, Rachel is considered Malkuth of the world of Atziluth, but Leah is only considered the Malkuth of Ima, like it's explaining. And it says, firstly, because Rachel does not issue from Malkuth of Ima, rather it is a Sephir on its own, the 10th of Atziluth, and issues only below, in its own place, opposite the back of the chest of Zer Anpin, because it emerges from that place. But the Lamed of Selim is not vested in Zer Anpin, and is not manifest as covered in exposed light. So it states before that the Sadiq of Selim is on the inner mentalities. That's because the lower parts are inside of Zer Anpin, because it was the Netzach Hod and Yesod of Abba and Ima that became Chokmah Bina and Da'at. That's why they're on the inside of Zer Anpin. But Lamed, which being the Chesed, Gevurah, and Tiferet, they are not inside of Zer Anpin. As for the aforementioned reason, their lights were pushed on the outside because the lights of Chokmah Bina and Da'at entered in that place. The outside light became the Partsufim of Saba and Tavuna. And so it states here, secondly, the Sadiq of Selim is vested in Zer Anpin, and part of its light is covered until the chest of Zer Anpin, which is where it connects, from where Leah issues, which means Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, because Sadiq of Selim is Netzach Hod and Yesod of Abba and Ima, which are the Chokmah Bina and Da'at. That's where Leah issues, Da'at. The other part is the revealed light that exits from the chest of Zer Anpin downward, from where Rachel issues, which is Tiferet, which this tells us that Leah comes out of Da'at and Rachel comes out of Tiferet. But the Lamed of Selim is not vested within Zer Anpin because it's not a part of its vessels. Nor does it manifest as covered or exposed light. And then it says from the Mem of Selim, which indicates the higher enveloping mentalities, which in turn are mental lights, without vessels, neither Leah nor Rachel issue for the above reasons. And so, for the exact same reason, because only the Netzach Hod and Yesod of Abba was used as the essences of Chokmah Bina and Da'at, and only the Netzach Hod and Yesod of Ima were used as the vessels for Chokmah Bina and Da'at of Zer Anpin. But the remaining upper portions, mainly the Mem and the Lamed, which are the Chokmah Bina, Da'at, Mem, and the Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Lamed of Abba and Ima, are not included in Zer Anpin at all. So with that being said, I'm going to conclude this particular portion of the higher wisdom of Leah and the Partsufim of Zer Anpin. It's a very complex matter, But if you guys have any questions, leave them down below. If you guys would like another video on this, I'd be happy to do one. With that being said, all glory to Hashem. Shalom Salah.